Hello neighbor, I'm Robert Burns, and we have one more exciting announcement for you today in today's feature of Sound Off Louisiana. We are introducing a brand new website, the URL of which is www.nopennyrenewal.com. That's www.nopennyrenewal.com. But before we tell you about it, I want to first break away and let's go back to November the 16th of 2015 and let's hear a small segment of the debate between John Bel Edwards and David Vitter. We'll be right back.
So this is a yes or no question for you first, Mr. Edwards. Will you raise taxes on individuals or businesses?
No.
You will not. Well, where's the money going to come from then?
We're going to squeeze as much cost savings as possible out of the way we deliver services in the state of Louisiana. We're going to look for efficiencies everywhere we can find them. We're going to make sure we explain the flexibility so that we can allocate cuts across a broader spectrum of the budget and not have to be confined by the statutory and constitutional dedication.
All right, folks, you just heard him say it. He was going to implement statutory dedications, and you even heard the beginning part of his supporters in the audience giving him very loud applause. So I want to make sure we all heard that correctly. So let's just let's break away once again and have him repeat that once again. We'll be right back.
We're going to make sure we explain the flexibility so that we can allocate cuts across a broader spectrum of the budget and not have to be confined by the statutory and constitutional dedication.
All right, we're back. I don't think there can be any mistaking what the man said. And I want to say one other thing. You heard him talk about efficiency and expenditures. Well, let's just bring out one perfect example. Right off the bat, he gave Jay Darden such a massive salary that it would have an immediate impact of $619,000 on, that's the present day impact, on the state's unfunded accrued liability. The actual impact is going to be far larger because he's paid out over a number of years. And, you know, this position is supposed to be the chief financial officer of the state of Louisiana. So you would believe that the man ought to be able to have some kind of clue about what is the efficiency of the Department of Transportation and Development with regard to what level of percentage expenditures go into actual concrete, bridge, and road repair. But in June of 2017, I asked this illustrious commissioner that question. Let's break away and let's hear his response. The figure that has been widely thrown out is 11% is the amount that went to actual concrete bridge construction. In fact, you're the CFO of the state. Can you give us the approximate percentage that is devoted in DOTD to administrative costs and your assessment of whether you think there could be further efficiency there?
I can't, as I stand here right now, I can't give you that exact percentage, but I'm not going to hazard a specific guess. But
all right, we're back. Now, had he just taken office, a response like that might have been understandable, but this man had been in office for 18 months at that point, and yet you heard the answer that he gave me. Doesn't even want to venture a guess of what the efficiency level is. David Vitter, Garrett Graves, a number of other folk, Americans for Prosperity, have all pointed out that 11% is the number. And, you know, I don't really think he did a very effective job of challenging that assertion, and Garrett Graves emphatically stands behind it. And I guess that's part of the problem when you have a historian running the state's finances whose main claim to fame appears to be drafting poems. Because Sue Lincoln, who had him as the guest for that particular name, actually requested he write a poem. And he did one. I'm not about to give it to you because to me, you know, when I'm paying someone salary like that, I expect them to be crunching numbers, okay? Not writing creative and cute poems. Yet you always hear whenever there's any cabinet meeting, here comes Jay Darden with another poem. So I think the state would be far better served if we had a chief financial officer sitting in the Commissioner of Administration's position who had a little bit more of a financial background, and it's clearly evident that we don't. You also heard then candidate Edwards talk about efficiencies, and you know, the reality has been far different. state police, you've seen the LACE programs, you've seen the millions that have been transferred over there for exorbitant $250,000 in overtime pay. I'm not gonna belabor the point because that's been in the news so much now that I don't think I need to. You've got sexual harassment lawsuits left and right by folk that Governor Edwards placed into these positions. Our legal fees and the potential judgments thereof are going to be massive. And you know, it would be one thing if it was just bad luck, but he had the knowledge and he made the appointments anyway. He had the knowledge of the past history of this at Southern University. He went ahead and made the appointment anyway in the case of Mr. Anderson. And now, before the state's even sued, has to go retain an attorney to start preparing for the defense costs, the staggering defense costs. You've got Kathy Durbin, the former State Police Commission executive director, who just this past week filed a lawsuit. Those legal costs are going to be massive, and I had forewarned that they were going to be massive. I'm not going to go any further into that because we're going to have an entire post dedicated to nothing but that. But what I'm here to tell you is that he is not implementing efficiencies, and through reckless conduct, and talk about the salaries for the cabinet levels. He said that he would never pay the exorbitant salaries that Bobby Jindal did. Well, not only did he pay the exorbitant salaries that Jindal did, he actually increased them. But I want to start to focus in on the whole purpose of this the post today, and that is the debut of NoPennyRenewal.com. Now, as most of you know, we are about to enter a special session. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I'm going to tell you right now, all that's a lot of hocus pocus about maybe we will, maybe we won't. They're going to do it, okay? And I want to just emphasize one thing. Many of you may recall Mr. Canada, an assistant coach at LSU. He was the offensive coordinator, had a very probably tumultuous behind-the-scenes relationship with head coach Ed Orgeron, and he sent packing with a very nice and lucrative severance package, if you will. Must be nice to go packing with literally $3 million coming your way for doing nothing. But at any rate, he was famous for doing all these shifts, the jet sweep and all the shifts that would take place, and they said that's part of the reason he had to go, because it would just become too difficult for the players to implement. But the whole purpose of that is to try to throw the defense off, okay? And all of this, we're going to go through some exercises coming up, and it's just like the shifting in a football game. You're going to hear, well, the Republicans won't go along with this, and it's just going to be a whole, and what it's going to come down to, all right, you mark my word, what it's going to come down to is the renewal of that 1 cent sales tax, because that's the massive gorilla that's out there that will, bring in about $750, maybe $700 million a year. That's the big elephant. And I want to say one thing. When Governor Edwards was first sworn into office, the very first thing they did was this clean penny addition to the sales tax. Okay, the excuse was that, look, I just inherited a mess from Bobby Jindal, and I got to have some time to sort this out, okay? And with a great deal of reluctance, some of the legislators who you would have otherwise thought would not have done so went ahead and went along with it. They said, all right, we're willing to be fair. We'll give the man some time. So it was for 27 months, okay? I want to emphasize that John Bel Edwards, even when it was being implemented, all right, he complained about the finite timeline of 27 months. He said back then, well, this is ridiculous, okay? So he was provided 27 months to try to do some of the things you saw him say he would do at the outset of the video, to enable statutory dedications to be removed so that the spending cuts could be spread out. Can anybody show me a bill where a legislator has introduced doing such a thing at the behest of John Bel Edwards? And if he wanted to do it, he certainly could have done it. He is the man that's in charge, okay? But it hadn't been done, okay? So now here we are coming up on the conclusion of the 27 months, and they're going to go through all this shifting. Oh, we went into session and the Republicans wouldn't do this and the governor wouldn't do that. And so they're all going to fall back on the default of, we got no choice. We got to renew this penny sales tax. All right, let me just tell you something right now. That's why the website was formed. When I first went to form my blog, there was a gentleman named C.B. Fergoston. Many of you will know him. And he was famous for tracking votes, all right? But it would just be up on a little one post that he made, and then after it scrolls off, you never find it, okay? And CB Ferguson is the one who encouraged me so strongly to form this blog that I've done. He said the video camera can be far more effective, Robert, than just the written word could ever be. Now, I did not know that. In fact, on a separate website, we've got jbefraud.com. If you go in and look at that, the first entry made on it is December 8th of 2015. And I even said that we're going to be tracking votes and we're going to directly link them to CB Ferguson's website about these tax votes. Now, I did not know at the time, I had no way to know that Mr. Ferguson didn't want to stick around much longer, and that's very unfortunate, but it is the reality. And if I could talk to him today face to face, I would say, CB, there's no way anybody could track all this. They put so many massive taxes on left and right, it would have been impossible to try to create trackings on it. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do in memory of CB Ferguson, this website that you have come to, NoPennyRenewal.com. We're not only just going to give their names, okay? We're going to give them what I consider the equivalent of a mugshot, all right? You're going to see the legislator who voted to renew the penny sales tax. You're going to have the photo. We're going to give you a link in case you don't know who your representative or senator are, because let me tell you something. It's not just our goal to get this clown out of the governor's mansion come 2019. We have a further obligation. We have got to get the next governor, and it's my hope it'll be the gentleman that's at the conclusion of this video. We have got to get the next governor to have a legislator that is not going to cave into this kind of garbage, and it's particularly true in the state Senate, okay? The House is not nearly as much of a problem as that state Senate. All right, and we have got to get candidates in there that are going to work with the next governor to implement the kind of reforms that John Bel Edwards said he wanted to do. Edwards keeps complaining, oh, the Republicans don't present a plan. Governor Edwards, we like your plan. We like the plan that you articulated when you were a candidate. The same group that your supporters applauded you. I will applaud you. Why didn't you implement your plan? Oh, I hope it wasn't just campaign rhetoric to get elected. I hope that's not the case. So, folks, that's going to be the purpose of this NoPennyRenewal.com, all right? And once the vote is taken, I mean, this is going to be a permanent website. Once the vote is taken, we will have their mugshot up there. We will have, you know, what district they're in. And you can get your own senator and representative's name in case you don't know it. We're going to give you the link for doing that. And I don't care if the tax fails, okay? I still want the names of the folks that voted for it because it's inexcusable. And, you know, obviously the vote hasn't been taken. Well, somebody's got to serve as guinea pigs, okay? And I have chosen 2 state representatives to serve as the guinea pigs for this site. And I'm going to tell you who they are. And I was bipartisan. I chose one Democrat and one Republican, okay? The Democrat that I have chosen is State Representative Ted James. Now, why did I choose Mr. James? Well, it's not because this is Pick on Ted James Day. I don't have video of it, but I know that Representative James once said, well, my constituents will just have to live with whatever tax I vote for. I mean, what choice do they have? That is one hell of a statement to make. All right. So, Representative James, I'm assuming you will be in the yes column when this tax comes up for renewal, given that statement that you made. If you happen to vote against the renewal of the penny sales tax, I will be more than happy to pull your name, you pull your picture, the whole 9 yards off of this website. But for now, based on what you've already said, you are serving as one of the 2 guinea pigs. Now, who is the other guinea pig? Well, that would be none other than the state representative, Kenny Havard, who was quoted in this morning's paper as being amongst the modest Republicans who believe that the conservative Republicans are not being reasonable with John Bel Edwards. He wasn't alone, by the way. We're going to give you a link for that article. The article was written by Tyler Bridges, okay? And what is so infuriating about him being the author of the article is he is the one who was sitting at the breakfast table, integrally being a part of the whole David Vitter, investigation down there, where they did use a rather poor excuse for an investigator to, try to get video footage with your cell phone. I mean, you can go buy a little pen for $110. You could have put it in your pocket and nobody would have even known you were doing it. I mean, that's what happens when you get, I will have to fault the Vitter camp on that, getting a little 21-year-old snot-nosed kid that clearly didn't know what the hell he was doing, okay? You think you're going to pull that off with a sheriff sitting over there that he's not going to be able to figure out you're trying to videotape, talking about Newell Norman. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off on that, but anyway, here is Tyler Bridges, an active part of that. Then Tyler Bridges authors a book about Longshot. Actually, he co-authored it with Jeremy Alford, profiting on the fact that John Bel Edwards was elected. You know, and it would be one thing for him to write the type articles we're going to link to you. It would be one thing for him to write that type article if he was an opinion writer, okay? I could excuse it for Stephanie Grace because that's what she does. She's an editorial writer, okay? And they have numerous other editorial writers on the Advocate's staff. You know, I mean, that would be perfectly acceptable to write this type of a slanted article. But the Advocate has hired him as a regular reporter. And look, just read the article and see how slanted it is, okay? You'll see some other representatives that kind of fall into Mr. Havard's camp. So we've got Mr. Havard up there because, you know, the assumption will be that he will be voting to renew this tax. And Governor Edwards suddenly says he don't want this tax renewed, all right? That sure isn't what he was saying when he was first elected. He said putting a 27-month time frame on it was basically nuts, all right? The only reason I can figure that he doesn't want it renewed now is he's getting some blowback from some of his main supporters because this 1 penny sales tax, there's no question it's regressive, okay? And make no mistake, I don't want it renewed either. I also don't want all these other taxes, all right? Because he should be doing what he said he was going to do during the campaign. Now, I've got 2 more little segments and then we're going to be done with this video. Why is everyone so afraid? Well, I think you got a potential governor. And I really hope we do have a next governor. And he's got a few things to say. See these ideas that John Bel Edwards espoused when he was a candidate that I showed you at the beginning of the video? There's somebody else who's been espousing that. Let me copy that. Difference is, John Bel Edwards, you've had an opportunity. You've been in office. Let's hear from a man who has not served in the governor's office, but so eloquently states these facts better than I could ever dream of. So I don't want you to watch me anymore. I want you to watch this man. I think many of you know who he's going to be. Let's break away.
We've got around 370 special funds set up in the state treasury by the legislature. Set up with a majority vote, by the way. They can be unset up with a majority vote. And it seems to me that if we're trying to figure out a way how to deliver vital services to the people of Louisiana, we have to start with looking at this $4.35 billion worth of statutory dedications. But the truth of the matter is that the statutory dedications are half as big as the general fund. And they're sitting there fully dedicated. We're not going to get control of the spending problem of Louisiana until we face some of our dedications. The one thing he has not looked at is our staffing levels. The legislative auditor did a report a few years ago, found that 22% of all the managers in the classified service manage 1 employee. He found that the average span of control, the average manager in the classified service manages 4 employees. You would never see businesses in the real world staffed at those levels. Contracts. The legislative auditor, I didn't know he was going to do it, but Monday, a week ago, he issued a report on consulting contracts. He found that we have 14,000 consulting contracts. He also found that we have 4,600 consulting contracts worth $250 million that are off the books. If you go over to the Office of Contractual Review and say, let me see the contracts, they're not going to show you 4,600 of them. You can't manage what you can't measure. Let me read you from the fiscal note from last year's equivalent of House Bill 30. This is from the Legislative Fiscal Office. In the fiscal year 2013 alone, just 1 year, the Office of Contractual Review annual report states that OCR approved a total of 2,001 professional, personal, and consulting services contracts with a total contract value of approximately $3.1 billion. That's just 1 year. But I will tell you, my disappointment in this legislative session has been that all you have heard is money. And let me put it another way. All you've heard is give me more of your money. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Nobody's talking about the spending side. Nobody's talking about the statutory dedications. Nobody's talking about how we can save money in Medicaid. Nobody is talking about how we can save money through our contract.
All right, I think everyone would have to agree that in that little 3-minute spiel, Senator Kennedy gave one hell of a deliverance of how we can solve this state's fiscal crisis. The difference is, with John Bel Edwards, we know he doesn't have guts enough to do it. We know that. He's been given an opportunity and he didn't do it. Some folk are going to be inclined to say, and I'm a big one of those some folks, going to say, you know, you said you were going to do this, you hadn't, get out of here. Let's give another man a chance and make now. We're just about done. You saw at the top of the website what the theme song is. We're going to conclude this entire video with that little theme song. And then we'll just await the vote. Because trust me, it's coming. You may see the song and dance about, you know, the special session doing these other things. Mark my word, it's going to come down to renewing the penny sales tax. And we are here in remembrance of C.B. Ferguson. I want to have a permanent website that's not only going to say who voted for it, but give the photo and let you give the opportunity to get them out, all right? Because they're not doing what they've said they would do, and that's particularly the case in John Bel Edwards. Let's break away to the theme song of this website, and thank you so much for having tuned in.
Honey, you can't hide your lying eyes.